All right, and we are back with the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series here on the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. We move into the 28th of September, 1985. Relatively, rather noteworthy show for a couple of things. We've started to plug the Cotton Bowl event, which is a couple of weeks away, apparently. And we moved through a newcomer, Tommy Montana versus Jim Powell. Interesting to open the show with two relatives unknowns. I mean, we've seen Powell before, but not a big deal here. He's supposedly from Atlanta. Montana is in his first match here. I've figured out there must be a syndicated world-class show, as they mentioned something that happened 6 weeks ago that we do not see here. So maybe there's shows that only aired in certain Texas markets or something. I'm not quite sure what that's about. But anyway, really basic stuff here. Tommy, and has a decent look to him, enhancement talent style look. But anyway, a beautiful drop kick by him, and Powell sells very well, using the arm drags and the like. Montana seems to be the one highlighted here. They do the runaround hammerlock spot, which is kind of, a really basic thing, and certainly kind of a lesser thing. Kick to the midsection by Powell, and Powell, hits the leg drop, but does not get necessarily what he wants from it. He hits Montana hits a sunset flip for a victory and gets the victory there. We then go to what I consider to be a disgusting promotional tactic. Mike Von Erich on television, less than 2 months after the surgery and near death. His eye is bloodshot. He can barely focus. He can barely speak. He's having difficulty speaking, stringing together sentences. He talks about being at the Cotton Bowl event. He talks about wanting to wrestle again. Kevin and Kerry both endorse him as a champion and a guy who's going to come back. I mean, I get it. They're over in Texas. I get it that wrestling is the way they make their living, but it's uncomfortable how forced. Looking at it from the outside, especially knowing what we know about what happens to the Von Erich family, how forced that is. The reason that I mentioned the other show is there is a match with Scott Casey and John Tatum from another event. Sunshine on the, and it's joint in progress. Sunshine on the top rope, or on the ring apron, slaps Tatum. Tatum calls out for the microphone, calls out Missy, which we later learn is Missy Hyatt, but we don't know that when this is happening. Missy Hyatt, who is unidentified, runs down to the ring, and I guess as the referee, as the announcer says, Bill Mercer says, maybe this is Missy. He makes a comment that we've seen this about 6 weeks before. Anyway, the match is held up for obvious reasons there. Missy Hyatt laying out Sunshine with her purse. And we then go to a Brian Adias and Hollywood John Tatum studio match. The match is much more able to finish. Missy Hyatt in her first, I guess, role officially as manager of John Tatum. And certainly Missy Hyatt, definitely a very attractive young lady in 1985, or by any standard at that in the 80s or early 90s. But Adias not impressed with what happened with Scott Casey previously. Tatum growing the hair a little bit longer, starting to take on the features that we know a little more of him. Adias, cranking on the headlock, going very basic with the holds and whatnot. Missy obviously not going to let her man lose, and she's very animated ringside. You've got to remember, she's just starting out here in 1985. Odd that she's brought to the WWF, think about this, in less than 2 years for tryouts for Missy's Manor, and Vince does not sign her. He only had Elizabeth at the time. Sherry Martel was in Fabulous Moolah, but to think what could have happened with Missy Hyatt in the WWF just kind of startles me when you think about it. The fact she never went startles me too. But anyway, top wrist lock by Adias. The crowd solidly behind him. Always amazing to me how over the Stars in Texas are. Just holding on to a chin lock, and you watch the crowd, and the crowd is solidly behind Adias. Tatum is, again, using very basic psychology, but getting the crowd on their feet with every move and lack of movement. Diaz not willing to take any backward steps, continues to fight his way through, continues to be present with his own reverse chin lock. But we then see Tatum take back over, uses the buckle and the like, and kind of you see the back and forth of the match. Tatum obviously set to go towards some sort of longer form storyline now with Missy. Obviously, Sunshine a part of that, as they eventually square off, I think, in an 86 stadium show. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they do cross paths in a catfight sort of way eventually. Missy is very happy when her man wins. He manages to get a victory, with some underhanded cheating tactics, but it doesn't really matter because he has the girl, he has the victory, he has all he needs, does Tatum. And it looks as though Adias is going to win right up until the end. And Missy on the outside is there. Tatum just uses his momentum and a little bit of tights to get the victory. Chris Adams, that is, promoting the upcoming Cotton Bowl show, says that he, in fact, will not let either of the Von Erichs cut his hair. Seems to be a hair versus hair, anything goes match at the Cotton Bowl show. This is the first major time they've really promoted it heavy. I mean, it's been hinted at, obviously, with the hair cutting angles across the last several weeks and months, but this is the first time it's made official, I think. Mark Lewin and Jack Victory versus Iceman Parsons and Kerry Von Erich is your main event here this week. And, Kerry and Parsons have teamed before. Big matches there. Gary Hart trying to keep his men at bay. Jack Victory being in a main event. Think about that. Debuting for World Class less than 6 months before. I think this is his rookie year, I'm pretty sure. And to be in a main event position on TV, gotta be really cool for an early 20-something-year-old guy. It says a lot about his potential. Lewin and Iceman Parsons square off. Kerry Von Erich not in there during the early stages. Iceman and Lewin have their history. Actually, anybody with Gary Hart and Iceman have history over the last year or so. Whether it be the one-man gang, whether it be Mark Lewin, whether it be Killer Tim Brooks, whomever. Parsons and Hart are not fast friends, to say the very least. Lewin takes the majority of the offense for the first several minutes, tag off to Victory. Victory obviously doesn't know everything he needs to know to lead a match, so you see Lewin taking the majority of the match with Parsons. Not that Victory couldn't have done it, I suppose. Probably could have. But when you're in that position, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, and I used to tell guys when I was in the independents, we can't put you over if you don't tell us how, and you don't know how to get yourself over if you're not watching every match. And I think there's value in watching everything you can if you're part of the sport. Anyway, tag off the Von Erich and Parsons connection, doing quite well. Parsons is able to get a headbutt on Victory and several jabs. Parsons also, actually, Kerry is almost, I won't say non-existent, but he's not much into the match until the last few minutes, last minute or two actually, and a weapon suspected to be brought in by Lewin, but not the case. Kerry goes out to the floor, puts the claw on, gets a hold of Gary Hart for a minute, but Kerry goes into the steel post on the outside, and the attempted chokeout slash sleeper on Parsons, but Kerry nails Lewin with that attempted discus punch. Didn't get all he wanted out of it, but the heels go for a run. Meanwhile, a cradle and inside small package by Parsons gets his team the victory as we close September in 1985 here in World Class.